Comics are booming. They continue to say everybody distorts, not everybody, but you get what it is that I'm saying. People distort the facts. Looking at sales numbers, not looking at the data accurately, though. Not actually getting into the meat and potatoes. You see higher number, therefore things are good. Not actually looking into it. What are they considering that's part of the sales? What are the unit sales looking like when it comes to comic books? They don't want to look at that. Instead, hey, it's a higher number reported before. And all this stuff that you guys see that's happening with the industry. Aftershock, going into bankruptcy. Not necessarily funny because it impacted the great Cliff Richards, who was the artist on ISOM #1, our book. He didn't get paid. Trying to get that worked out. Nonetheless, you have people griping, creatives, a part of the industry griping, but they're too scared because they're blacklisted that they won't drop names. Companies are just not paying them. I think Valiant was part of that as well. I think they dropped down. Now they're only doing one month, like one title a month or something like that. So creators not getting paid. Everybody's griping about not getting paid, at least on time, taking a long, long time after completion of their work, contracts to get their actual money. You have that going down. Now, for the first time in a long time, Diamond, as of April 2022, is not making their sales numbers public. DC, Marvel, no longer with them necessarily because they're with Lunar and Penguin Random House, but they aren't making their numbers public. So nobody actually knows what's selling. They have to try to go by participating bookstores, reporting, and then making a guess because nobody actually knows what these books are doing. But the industry's fine, guys. There's nothing to worry about. Everything's fine and dandy. IDW, we're going to cover more in detail. We've talked about them and their stock. Goes under $1, goes above it. I don't know what it is now. Actually, let me go check it out real quick. What are they at before I cover this report that came out like 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken? I missed it. Let's see. It is at, I think, $1. $1.01. Hold on just a second. Yes, correct. 5 years. Yeah, man. Comics are booming. Comics are absolutely booming. One of the biggest comic book publishers in the indie scene and the independent scene, which only means basically not Marvel, not DC, is in the tank. Let's talk about their report as they announced their results of the fourth quarter and full fiscal year of 2022. And this was on January 19, 2023. IDW Media Holdings and then yada, yada, yada. Today reported results. Now let's read it. Fourth quarter, fiscal 2022. This is the most recent quarter. The revenue did increase to $2.5 million. Revenue increased 36%, $7.7 million in the third quarter. IDW Publishing revenue decreased, however, from $6.9 million in fourth quarter 2021, primarily due to fewer titles being released. Digital sales were flat as compared to fourth quarter 21. Now, IDW revenue increased to $4.8 million compared to $0.2 million in fourth quarter 21. And this was because of the recognition of revenue from the Lock and Key season 3, which apparently they are part of. Consolidated income from lost operations was $0.3 million compared to a consolidated operating loss of $1.9 million. So they're still losing money. They're just not losing as much money. Net income was $0.4 million or $0.03 a share compared to a net loss of $0.7 million. So full year, what does it look like? Full fiscal year of 2022. There was a revenue increase from the prior year. There was a sales increase, or excuse me. Why can I not talk? Increased slightly, $25.8 million compared to $25.3 million. So they made a little bit more money, not hardly anything, than they did the previous year. Barely. What is that? Like $500,000 maybe? The increase was driven primarily by increased non-direct market revenue driven by strong sales of The Last Ronin and They Called Us Enemy, an increase in games revenue from direct-to-consumer games campaign Batman Adventures, and an increased retailer exclusive revenue related Sonic the Hedgehog and Transformers, offset by a decrease in direct market revenue due to fewer titles being published and a decrease in digital sales to the previous compared to the previous year. So they're making money elsewhere, basically. IDW revenue increased 10.3 million to 10.3 million from 7.1 million the previous year. So they made about $3 more million, it looks like, in terms of revenue in the increase. However, they're still losing money, as documented right here. IDW's net loss improved to 0.7 million or 0.06 per share. They're still losing money. They were losing money before. They're still losing money, just not losing as much money. So you can say that maybe they're doing slightly better than what they did last year, but it's not really because of the comics. It looks like it's because of some of the investment, and maybe that's why you're seeing a lot of investment going into other stuff, except maybe The Last Ronin. But with movie stuff and shows, it looks like, as it talks about Lock and Key and Surfside Girls. So it doesn't look like the actual comics are really driving hardly anything. If I can check real quick, let me do something real quick. It doesn't look like they for the most part, I'm looking where they mention it. Because comics and graphic novel, let me see. Financial takeaways, looking at this, it does say IDW revenue decreased, primarily due to a decrease in number of titles. So it's not because of the comics. They releasing less titles, and they had a strong release of Last Ronin number 4 in the previous year. So basically, the comics aren't and I'm documenting it right here, as you can see, right here on in terms of the revenue. The comics aren't making the money. Let's just this is what this is saying. Comics aren't making these guys money like that. Thankfully, they had a year ago The Last Ronin, but outside of that, they ain't making money. It says right here, lost income from operations. It talks about operations was $1.6 million that they lost compared to the income from operations. In last quarter. So they're not making money, they're losing money. They probably have some operational issues going on right now. And they may be hurting. Let's look at some of these total assets. Look at this, if I can find real quick, because I think this is worth mentioning as we go through this report here. It doesn't say. I thought it did say. I'm almost positive. It shows the sales of the books. Like you look at some of these balance sheets right here. It doesn't. Nah, it doesn't show. I thought it showed. Nah, they're just very vague and generic. Unless I'm missing it. They got the television cost on there. I'm not seeing anything about the comics. I might be missing it. Oh, well, nonetheless, they lost money. Let's just be blunt. Look, guys, if you want to fix the industry, you have to acknowledge what the problem is. Comics aren't selling right now. An American comic book industry is in shambles as far as being able to try to get some sort of enthusiasm. People may see a success or two, but it's not like in large, not in mass. They're struggling. And I want it to be fixed, not just as a comic book creator, but as a comic book customer, long-time fan. I want the American comic book industry to be in a good spot where people are doing well, people are making money, creatives, businesses, net exporter. People are seeing it in other countries and want to get in on it. Instead, right now, we're getting our asses kicked in our own country by the Japanese, and everybody walking around like nothing's happening. In fact, they're trying to take credit for the Japanese kicking their ass. Wherever you're viewing the content, I appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, you may be interested in my comic book company, Rippaverse Comics. Our first book and campaign, ISOM #1, brought in $3.7 million with tens of thousands of satisfied customers. Visit Rippaverse.com to check out our store and stay up to date with the latest campaigns from one of the hottest new comic book companies. Also, my first big step towards a parallel economy was the development of my personal website, ericdjuly.com. This entirely replaced my Patreon. Now, if you enjoy this content, please consider becoming a member over at the website. We have an ever-expanding list of perks for various membership tiers, a forum, and a phone app. Some of these perks will even benefit you if you're fans of the Rippaverse. Anyway, I appreciate you so much for being a supporter and or customer. I even got a little love for my haters.